There have never been as many Canadian men's national team players playing in Europe as there will be going into the 2024-2025 season. And after coming off a very successful Copa America, a lot of Canadian fans are excited to watch their players playing for their club teams. So what Alex and I are going to do today is we're going to take a look at a bunch of different categories and give you our season predictions. And we're going to start off with the most goals. So Alex, which Canadian player do you think will score the most goals this upcoming season?
I feel like it's unfair to look at any other player than Jonathan David. Ultimately, this is a guy coming off of back to back, 20 plus goal seasons across all competitions. Someone who's proven he can put the ball in the back of the net at the club level. Of course, there's some things to watch with David in the terms of where will he be playing next year. But I think no matter where he ends up, if he ends up staying at Lille, he'll definitely score some goals. And if he leaves, you can only imagine him going to an opportunity, be it in England or be it Italy or wherever else he's been linked to, move to Spain as well at times. I think he'll find a place to score goals. So ultimately, for this season, it's hard to predict anyone but Jonathan David. Although I suppose if a new face steps up, I won't complain because that probably means this player would have bagged 15, 20, 25 goals. And you're not going to complain about Canada having another player who can step up and do that for their club.
I mean, we saw Theo Bear score 15 last season. I agree with you. Like, I do. If he stays with Lille, I bet you he'll score 20 or so goals. If he moves to the Prem, maybe it's Tottenham, I could probably see about 15. Just to throw another name out there, I will throw out Ike Ugbo because he literally just joined Sheffield Wednesday once again. He was a fan favorite there. He scored a bunch of goals. He was a big part of the reason that they avoided relegation. So you'd imagine an entire season in the championship with a team that backs him, that system that he fits. He could maybe score up towards 20 or so goals. So I'll throw Ugbo out there as well, but I do agree David would be the heavy favorite. The next category is most assists. I'll begin this time, and I'm going to go with Liam Miller. Now, at time of recording, Liam Miller is very close to signing with Hull City. Speaking with Liam in the past, he's told me plenty of times that he really wants to play as a left winger. He had a really good season at Preston North End, but he played as a wingback, and he went on and said that was not the plan for the beginning of the season. I was not supposed to feature as a wingback. He did really good. He scored goals, got a ton of assists, but I think playing for this Hull City side, a very ambitious side, where they're more than likely going to play in this winger system, where he will hopefully fit along the left-hand side where he wants to be. I really think that his output could improve even more. So I could see him getting towards 10 or so assists this season. So I'm going to go with Liam Miller. Alex, who do you got?
I'm going to go Alfonso Davies. Bit of a boring answer in the sense that I'm going for a big, one of Canada's. Canada's pretty much their biggest, most recognizable name playing abroad. But I see some interesting things ahead for Alfonso Davies because either, of course, he stays at Bayern Munich. And of course, there's the whole question of his contract situation. But I figure that if he ends up staying, they'll find something that works out, and Vincent Company will be able to make very good use of Davies' services. It's worth noting that he actually had one of his best seasons last year in terms of assists. He had 6 in the Bundesliga. That's despite being some injuries, dealing with the Thomas Tuchel ball that kind of pushed him out of how he was playing at wing back under Julian Nagelsmann. I think Davies could really do some damage. And then of course, if he does leave and he does somehow still end up at Real Madrid, although that seems less and less likely by the day, hey, that's just a guaranteed assist waiting to happen when you got Mbappe, you got Vinicius, you got Brahim Diaz, you got Rodrigo, you name it. That team is ridiculous. So I think Davies this could be his first year where he pushes for double digits in a Europe in a season in Europe in a league season at least.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, he could actually be up for the next category, which is comeback player. I mean, by Davies standards, you would assume that if he can put up almost double digits in assists, that would be a comeback. I'm not going to go with Davies, though. I am going to go with Theo Corbeanu, and I think that this season is set up for Theo to have a lot of success. Now, he was on loan for 5 seasons. That's just too many clubs, too many systems, too many managers. It was really hard for him to find success. And when he did find success on a loan club, he obviously was brought back and sent somewhere else. Now, he joined Granada in January last season. They were fighting relegation. It was difficult for him to kind of break into a top tier La Liga side like that, fighting relegation. They went down, but now I think that it's an opportunity to be in the second division where he will hopefully be a starter, play in a position that he likes to be, and hopefully just be comfortable with his environment, knowing that he is going to stay and hopefully impress. So I do think a player that could really use just a little stability is Theo Corbiano, and I'm expecting a lot better season and a little bit more stable one. Alex, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go for a center back. I think this is someone who could really, just I think he fits Jesse Marsh's system, and of course, I think now we know Moise Bombito and Scott and Derek Cornelius are the two main center backs. But you always need depth, right? You always need options. I just feel like Scott Kennedy could fit very well in Jesse Marsh's system, and of course, Scott Kennedy currently in Austria, with Wolfsberger. Yeah, he had a good start to the year, and an injury kind of really derailed things before he made a late comeback. I think having that full off season, he didn't even have to worry about playing for Canada, full season of recovery. I think Scott Kennedy, if he can go out and have a strong start to the season, he could really push back into that national team picture. And he's still young for a center back, still in a good position. Again, his attributes fit well. I think Scott Kennedy is someone definitely worth keeping an eye on. Maybe we're not paying as much attention to the Austrian league, but maybe there's a reason too with Kennedy at Wolfsburger.
Especially with Kennedy's speed. I agree. I think that's definitely a profile that Jesse Marsh would be interested in, and I hope he is in for a big season. We've interviewed him before too, so he's a really good guy. I would like to see a big season from him. Moving on to the next category, we have breakthrough player. Which player do we think is going to have a breakthrough season? I'm going to go with Promise David. I think this makes sense considering this player's had a big rise. He was in Estonia scoring goals for fun, gets the move to Union Saint-Gilloise in Belgium. I think that's a big, big transfer. He's scored right away in friendlies. They're right now trying to make the Champions League. It doesn't look so well, but more than likely I think a guarantee they will be probably playing European football. So he'll have the opportunity to maybe play in the Europa League, the league as well. He's an exciting profile of player. He's a dual national, eligible for Canada, Nigeria. So he's told me that the goal is to play at the World Cup for Canada in 2026. I think he put himself in a good position to maybe get Jesse Marsh's attention. So Promise David will be my breakthrough player. Alex?
I'm going to go Luke DeFugeral, the youngster, the young center back. I mean, we haven't seen a whole lot of him in terms of first team environments. I guess pretty much been that one debut game he played for Fulham last year in the Cup, and then it was like a 5 minute cameo for Canada in their nation or in their qualifier for Copa America, and then he got that good run against Uruguay. Every time I've seen him, it's been good. And like this is an 18-year-old center back. We have to remember has only been playing center back for like a year, 2 years now, right? Because he was more of a fullback midfielder before. But there's just the way he plays, you see something there. And he's only 18. And I think after seeing him in that Uruguay game, I just hope Fulham has a good plan for him. I don't know if the breakthrough will happen at Fulham because it's Premier League. That's a lot too soon. But I just feel like if they find the right situation for him, I absolutely wonder if he'll get sent out on loan with the EFL season starting this weekend. I think the Defugeral could really be a sneaky pick in like a championship team, just developing and improving his game, given his age. So I think Defugeral, this feels like he's on the cusp of a breakthrough season. He's kind of had his 2 years in the Fulham system, being around that first team. Now it's time for him to make a step up and show some more of that potential.
I definitely agree. A bit of a risky pick though, Alex, because I think if he goes to the championship, I think you're right. And I hope he will. I just think obviously staying at Fulham might be a little bit more difficult. We'll have to wait and see. But he's a player that every Canadian wants to see get minutes in Europe and hopefully have a big season. Next category is going to be biggest surprise. And I'll start this one off with Luka Kalinovic. Now, Kalinovic is coming off a very successful season in Czechia, and he earned himself a transfer for €1 million. So not a big transfer fee. He's going to the Eredivisie with Hercules, and I think that he could be a big surprise this season. He is eligible for a few different nations: Croatia, Bosnia and Herzegovina, and Canada. He was born in Toronto, and I think that if you go into a top league like the Eredivisie and you just score goals, I think he could get the attention of Jesse Marsh. It's not a guarantee, but I do think the Eredivisie can find strikers who it's just the way that they play that can find the back of the net. His profile, I do believe he could be in for a big season. And I think it'd be a bit of a surprise because I don't think a lot of Canadians are overly familiar with him. He's 24, kind of getting on the radar now. So if he goes to the Eredivisie, scores a bunch of goals, he could be a big surprise and maybe, who knows, gets a Canadian call-up. So Alex, who do you have for your biggest surprise this upcoming season?
Yeah, I'm going to go over to the Swiss league, and this player made a very interesting transfer, and that's Zachary Brogiard, who's currently playing for Lugano in the Swiss league, and he started the year getting minutes for them. he's just been one where he kind of got stuck in the wrong place, wrong time in Montreal. With when they were at their best, there they had Alistair Johnston, and then Johnston leaves, and they bring in Herrera, and they kept bringing in players to play in front of Broguillard. Yet, all right, Broguillard would keep his head down. If he had to come off the bench, he'd come off the bench. He'd contribute. And I think now the fact that he's gone to Lugano, he can get a full time role in Europe. I think he could really push back into the radar of this Canadian team. Where yes, the depth is strong at the top end at right back, but you can never have too much right back depth. And I think a guy like Broguillard could fit in, and long term for this Canadian team, he's still a good age. So hopefully he can continue to make the most of this Lugano move. And I think he could really surprise and throw himself back into the mix after kind of being forgotten with how sparingly used he was at Montreal.
I like that, Alex, especially with a player like Mo Farsi looking to go with Algeria. There could be an opening down the depth chart there, and I think that Zachary put himself in a solid position to do so. Next up is, and I'm curious to see where you go with this, but it's going to be biggest worry leading into the 2024-2025 season. I'm going with Kyle Larin for a few different reasons. I don't think Larin had the most successful season with Mallorca in La Liga last campaign. He scored 3 goals. He had a really good Copa del Rey run, but outside of that, it was frustrating watching him play. It just didn't look like the fit that Valladolid did. On top of that, a manager that did actually give him a decent look has moved on, so there's going to be a new manager there. It looks like he's one of the strikers on the outside looking in. I don't think he'll be in a starting role, and I wonder how long he lasts before a potential transfer could come up, maybe January. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe with the new manager, he does fight his way in. But I do think right now Larin is not completely set up to have a very successful season. And considering that Kyle Larin is Canada's all-time leading goal scorer, he's expected to start alongside Jonathan David under Jesse Marsh. It's definitely a big worry for me. Alex, who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go Tejan Buchanan, and it's out of his control. Let's not be wrong. Obviously, he suffered a pretty big injury at Copa America, which, brought his participation there to an early end. But I just say because he obviously made the big move to Inter and he joined halfway through the season, that kind of gave him a leg up in a sense because he had like an extended preseason. Like, you get 6 months, you got to be on a title winning squad where Inter has the luxury to integrate him as they did. He got his chances, started to play more and more, started to get better and better, more and more comfortable. Then it was all right, like get a big offseason. This preseason was going to be massive for him, that first full season. And the fact that he won't be able to take advantage of that because of an injury, it is a worry just because ultimately when you're playing at a top elite club like Inter is what, like a top 5, top 10 club in the world right now. And you can see what the depth they have across the board. It's hard to break in, and you really need to take advantage of certain windows. You see it like with some players. Sometimes it just takes a moment, like Alphonso Davies at Bayern. There's some key timing of injuries. New coach comes in, he gets his shot. Boom! You never lose. He never really looked back from there. Well, for Buchanan, it felt like this preseason was going to be one of those windows, like fresh start. You're already familiar with the manager. You've earned some trust. You've had the chance to take the summer to learn and grow from everything you saw in your first half season of Serie A, and now he's not able to take advantage of it. You just wonder because, yeah, even with Buchanan, with the injury concerns, Inter all of a sudden we're looking to sign more right backs just to provide cover. That's more names for him to go up against. That's more players to fight for positioning with. I just wonder when he comes back if he'll just set him back and then he'll push it so that his next big shot to win an Inter spot's at the start of the next season. So yeah, it's a bit of a worry for Buchanan, and that's the reality of playing at a top level where even an injury can really set you back in a certain way.
Yeah, you got to feel for him. It's heartbreaking, especially knowing how long he had to wait, like you mentioned, and be patient to know that this upcoming season was his opportunity. He's a strong player, though. He's very strong mentally, so we're hoping that he comes back and is ready to go. The next one is also another interesting category. It's going to be best transfer. So at the end of this upcoming season, when you look back, you're going to ask yourself, you know what? That was the perfect transfer for this player. So I will start this one, and I'm going to go with Ismail Kone. Now, I thought getting a move to a big league was going to be really important for Kone, especially seeing some of the performances he put in against some top nations. We didn't know that the Marseille move was kind of in between some of those performances where maybe he wasn't up to his standards, but he got the job done. And what makes me really excited about this move is that I think he will fit De Zerbi's system very well. I'm a huge fan of De Zerbi. I think that he's going to take Marseille and he should probably push for a top two place. They've got a lot of signings, so it's going to be hard to obviously, get it right. But it did seem like De Zerbi made it clear that Kone was a priority signing, which is already a great sign. And during preseason, I mean, I know you Canadians saw the goal. Kone scored an absolute beauty. He's wearing number 51, which I'm not going to say I'm crazy about, Alex, as you know me, big numbers guy, but that's all right. I don't know what the reason is behind that, but I do think he will be in for a big season, and I'm really excited to see how he develops this year because De Zerbi's also been known to really be able to take midfielders and turn them into gems. So who do you got?
Yeah, I've got Theo Bear. I'm also going Liga. Liga, it's the new league for Canadians to keep an eye on for good reason. And I just like the move for Theo Bear in the sense that he proved himself for a good, strong season at Motherwell, scored a lot of goals, really took a lot on his shoulders, and proved that he can be the guy on a team that was, originally scrapping relegation, and they ended up almost pushing them into the top half of the season. I think they missed out by like a point, but they, ended up achieving a lot of their goals and surpassing them. And Bear was a big reason why. So I'm excited with this move to Auxerre, where of course it's going to be tough for them to avoid relegation. It always is when you come up from the second division. But what I like about Bear is that he's going to be the focal point there. You've already seen it in preseason where he's been, scoring goals for Auxerre. He's going to be the main guy, and he proved with Motherwell he can do that on a team where, okay, maybe they're not the most talented team in the league. Maybe he's not going to get crazy wild 5 chances on a plate per game. You show that, okay, that's fine. You give me 2-3 chances, I can be clinical, I can put them away, I can hold the ball up, I can defend, do a lot of the things you need your strikers to do when you're on, teams lower in the table, where again it's not, you're not on a PSG, you're not on a Bayern where you're going to get a couple more chances when you're playing those teams. So I love this move for Bear at Auxerre. I really think he can continue to develop, take a big step forward, playing in a top 5 league. And again, with this Canadian striker pool being what it is, there continues to be a spot for a guy like Bear to come in and surprise and continue to impress Jesse Marsh. So I'm sure he'll be keeping a close eye on him as well.
We will now be going from best transfer to worst transfer. So at the end of the season, which transfer are you going to look at and being like, yeah, that one didn't work out? For me, I'm going to go with the dual national, a very popular dual national for Canadian fans, and that's Daniel Jebison. Now, Jebison missed a long time last season with Sheffield United. It took him really all season to get healthy and get back. I think it's impressive that he got a move to the Premier League with Bournemouth. Don't get me wrong. And if he stays, that's where I think the worry comes in because he hasn't really proven that he can be a goal scorer even at the championship level. His best season came in League One. I think he's a talent. He's 21. I just think kind of like Luc de Fougerolles, he needs to go to a club where he will get a ton of minutes. And I think getting this move to the Premier League club shows that, he's got a lot of promise, but I think you then loan him out for maybe the championship club, a club that needs him, a club that will use him, and where he can just develop and get a ton of game time. If he stays in the Premier League, even if Solanke leaves, I don't think he's going to be a starter. I don't know how much they're going to trust him coming off the bench. That's just my opinion. Maybe he should be the breakout player if he's able to turn that around. But I can't really see it. I'd like to see him get a loan move before the window closes, and I think he could be in for a big move in the championship. But if not, I think he's a bit of a worry for the upcoming season.
Oh, that's fair, and there's a lot of question marks, right, with Daniel Jebison. For my worst transfer, I'm going to stick in the English pyramid because I thought this move really surprised me when I saw it. It's Tom McGill. Like I think Tom McGill, a very intriguing goalkeeping prospect. There's a reason why Canada's been keeping a close eye on him. It was very interesting to see. All right, like could he legitimately get his breakthrough at Brighton, or would it come elsewhere? And it kind of felt like after how the last few years had gone, where he'd been on the cusp for a few years, it felt like it was elsewhere. So to see the move he eventually made, he goes to MK Dons in EFL League Two. That really surprised me because you have to remember McGill. He's a bit older. He's 24. And I think that something where a move like this in League Two, it's a great move for a young 19, 20, 18-year-old goalkeeper just finding his feet in the professional game. An example I'll use as a Canadian, actually, one worth keeping an eye on. It's Owen Goodman. The Crystal Palace product got loaned to League Two last year. had a good season, and now he's back again with Wimbledon. Which, funny enough, storyline that you got two Canadian goalkeepers on one of the fiercest rivalries in England. You got Goodman with Wimbledon, Tom McGill with MK Dons. But I just feel like for McGill, where he's at his age, he needed to move to like a championship level club or genuinely leave England, right? Like go to a Belgium, go to a Netherlands, just because he's at an age where he needs reps at a higher level. If he was like Goodman's age, Goodman's still just 20, it makes sense. So for McGill, I just felt like it was too big of a drop for him for where he's at. And I think because of that, you look at other names in the goalkeeping order, you look at a Jonathan Sirois, who's playing at a higher level, constantly getting more reps. You wonder that. There's other goalkeepers breaking out. Of course, you've got a Goodman in the same league. He's 4 years younger. You wonder if you're looking for upside, it might be better to look at it. I think for McGill, this is one where maybe it helps him long term. Who knows? Maybe he just needed this reps. But I think, especially from a Canadian perspective, this pushes him down the depth chart, which makes it a bit of an unfortunate transfer.
I agree with you, Alex. I don't know if our colleague Oliver Platt would agree with you there. Big MK Dons fan. But we're moving on to our final category of the episode, and that is going to be best dual nationals. So at the end of this upcoming season, you look back and you see all the dual nationals. Which one do you think will be in for the biggest season? I'm going to go with Luka Kolyosho. Kind of an obvious one. He had a solid start with Burnley in the Premier League. He had that injury. He's coming back. He's going down to the championship, which is a level I think that he will thrive in. I really think he could be in for a good season. He's a talented kid. I thought he could honestly cut it in the Premier League. I kind of like that he's going down to the championship just to get healthy again, get his form back, his fitness back, and he's obviously playing for a team that is expected to push for promotion once again. The only downside about keeping an eye on Kolyosho is, if you're asking my personal opinion, I think Canada is on the outside of this fight. I think Italy can use him eventually. I mean, they've called up players from the Swiss league in the past few years. So I think that right now the ball is in their court and they more than likely will cap tie him. Although I do think we have a better advantage than the US and Nigeria. So we'll have to wait and see. But my pick will be Luka Kolyosho. Alex, rounding out the video, who do you got?
Yeah, I'll finish off by going with someone you went with earlier, but I just think he's got, again, striker pool. Very, very muddy place right now. Room for some gems to emerge. I'm going to go Promise David. I think this Union Saint-Gilloise move was just such a fascinating one because, having seen his debut for Gilloise, instantly you can see the tools on him. You can see, like, he's big. He can hold up a ball. He's good with his feet, though, for a big man. And he, of course, can score. But there's a lot to work on. Like his it's his technical ability. It's still sharpening out. Just reading the game, etc. I think this Union Saint-Gilloise transfer is like a perfect match where he can take some of those physical skills and some of those natural skills that he has, like goal scoring and etc., and just sharpen it out. Like get that technical ability, get the just everything you need to be a complete striker. Belgium's so good for that. Remember a young Jonathan David and what he learned playing for Ghent back in the day. Of course, Promise David's a bit older at this stage, but I think he's in a perfect spot to develop. And I think what I like about St. Gilloise is they look to be willing to give him a chance. Like the fact they played him in their Super Cup win for his debut, the fact they've had him around the squad for their Champions League qualifiers, that he's been getting minutes in the league. He's going to continue to develop, and it's going to be a slow burn. I say don't be surprised if we don't see him start for a few months, even score for a few months. But I think this is a move where he just continues to improve week in, week out in training in that environment. And when it comes January, it comes February, he can really start to push, and we'll look back and say that's okay. A good move. And we have to remember, it's a dual national. Nigeria is going to be looking at him playing in that Belgian league. They've had a few players go through there as well over the past few years. It's going to be an interesting battle if this shapes out the way it's looking so far.
Promise David is definitely still a raw talent, only 23 years of age, so maybe one that we could see for the upcoming September window. We'll have to wait and see. But I want to hear from you guys down in the comment section. Alex and I went through our predictions through all these different categories. Let us know if you agree with our picks. If you don't, give us your guys' thoughts as well. And I really hope you guys did enjoy this video. And if you did, as always, be sure to drop a like, drop a sub. We'll see you guys soon. Cheers, friends.